every opportunity where you're interacting with a customer, you feel like you're working to convince, but you ought to be looking for something that's in there that you can use with another customer. I can't tell you how many times a customer has said a great line, and then I turn right around to the next one and I say, you won't believe this, but the last person I spoke to on this very same issue, here's what they said. So you have to be aware enough in the situation to be not only a participant, but then a bit of an outside viewer, and then write those things down.
Well, hello, and welcome to Season 2 of the Simple and Smart SEO Show,
the podcast for solopreneurs, service providers, and e-commerce sellers who want to learn the basics of SEO in all the places it shows up.
I'm Crystal Waddell. I help Shopify store owners go from feeling like an SEO zero to your very own SEO hero in just one day using AI, UX, other tech ninja moves.
And I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO and case study copywriter, helping service providers increase sales without being on 24/7, using the power of SEO, story, and social proof.
We're just a couple of business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned as we show you how
simple
and smart
SEO can be. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in. Welcome back. We are here. We've already talked with Crystal's dad, and now we've got my dad on this week. And it's going to be a little bit of a different angle because Crystal's dad listens to the show. My dad, I've actually helped him with SEO copywriting. So we're going to have just a slightly different take on things. So Crystal is here and Dave is here. Say hi, guys.
Hi,
Dave. All right. So we're going to be talking about SEO and fun things. But before we do, we were just talking about my dad's couple of nicknames. You want to tell us about how you got the nickname?
I played football in college and enjoyed it. And I like to hit people. One of the nicknames I got was Crazy Horse. And that stuck. It was a pretty good one. Dudes are lazy. They don't want to call you Crazy Horse after a while, so they just call you Crazy. And so I got the abbreviated name. It's Crazy, which Crazy's not bad unless you're talking to a girl on the quad and four guys walk by and call you crazy. It's kind of hard to get a date that way, but eventually I found somebody. That's why you're here.
Right, I know. Hi, everyone. Hi. I was just telling my dad that on the podcast and really in life, I've started going by B or Brittany. So I was like, all right, just a heads up. And that's how we ended up on the nickname train. So I'm really excited that you're here. We get to chat about some of the stuff that we worked on. And as the people listening know, it's part of our Father's Day special. So I'm going to start us off with the question that I like asking everyone. And you hinted at a really good answer, but I made you keep it in your head about 15 minutes ago. So what I like asking everyone is, when it comes to SEO, how do you define it, or what do you think of when it comes to SEO? Like, how do you explain it?
I had very little exposure to SEO, so SEO was a mystery to me. And then when people started to try to explain it to me, it seemed like smoke. And I was trying to corral smoke and figure out what all these different pieces were and how important they were. So I think I'm still dealing with the fact that I'm in a room full of smoke and I'm trying to get it organized. It's not perfect, but it's getting better.
It is. And you and I are now able to have pretty intelligible conversations about SEO. So
We are. Yes, we are. Whereas in the beginning, you would have had a conversation with yourself and I just would have sat there and listened. Correct.
Yep. Nodded and smiled a few times. Yeah.
Correct. Appropriately. Yes.
I think it's really cool. For me, at least, I don't know what you think, Crystal, but I think it's almost better to ask people who are so outside of the world of SEO what they think of it. Yeah, you think so too?
Absolutely. The thing that I learned from Crystal from Wix is the power of, what are those things? Analogies. Like when you say smoke, it's like it's disappearing. I can't find it.
I can't capture it.
It paints such a great picture. So yes, I love that.
Yes. I want to corral it. I just can't.
You can, because you have the right people in your world. But if you were to try to do it yourself, it's really complicated.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to go pretty close to impossible.
You might eventually get there. I think my love of research comes from you.
I do like to research.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so this leads nicely into, how have I helped you when it comes to SEO and your business? Which we should say, because we like keywords over here, your window replacement business for the Raleigh area in North Carolina.
Very good. I like that. So you're using the actual keywords back in the SEO stuff. I like that. That's good. Yeah. What have I learned? When I started, I literally knew nothing. Somebody said SEO, and probably the best description I got early on was, you're not really going to understand it, but it's like doing maintenance on your car. And it's something you need to do, and you need to do it all the time. But it's not like buying a new set of wheels for your, right? Where you go out and show everybody your wheels. Like maintenance is, I changed the oil, I changed the antifreeze, I put new wiper blades on. Doesn't my car look better? No, it's the same car. So that's the best description I got. So in the beginning, I had that much understanding, and now I have just a little bit more, starting to understand it. More like a spider web, right? Where you're trying to tickle things and come down through. It's kind of like the way the brain stores information. It doesn't store it in one place. You got a whole bunch of different places and it pulls back. So you have to learn how to go out there and pull it back in, so to speak. That's my understanding of it.
That's great. I like that. And I was like pointing, if you're watching the video ever, if this ever makes it online, I was pointing because Crystal talks about the spider web. Because you've got your website and then you've got other things too.
And you're like building your own web, in the greater web. So I love it. Keep the analogies coming.
This is great. Okay. So the projects that I helped you with, you have the window replacement company in Raleigh, and you wanted to have a website because you knew the importance of having some web presence.
Correct.
And I essentially begged you to let me help you with copywriting.
That is correct.
So I have roughly 20 years of information stuck in my brain, and I wanted to use it. And I was very glad that you actually let me do that, because I also had an understanding of SEO. And you were working with another marketing company, and they pulled in different service providers. So there was a partner that did SEO. There was a partner that did the ad stuff. There was me that was doing the copywriting and so on. And that was really cool to be able to do that process and then to be able to see the results of it. So let's start with the process. How would you explain that process of working with me to have the copywriting with the SEO strategy?
I would say, for me, the most enlightening fact is, and I'll use another analogy. In the Old West, if you were a barber, you hung a barber sign out. And if you were a butcher, you hung the butcher sign. And if you were the blacksmith, you hung the blacksmith sign. If you ran the bar, you put the proverbial liquor sign up there, right? But today, if you go hang your website out, it's reaching everybody, but that audience is too big, right? So I think the thing that I learned is that you start with who you're after, and then you try to not only make your site attractive to those folks visually and appealing and somewhat interesting to draw them in, but then you're also using words. So, you're using words to paint the dots on the picture, to maybe another analogy, a funnel come through it, right? So you want to pick them up at a wider point, and then some people self-eliminate, and eventually you get down to where you have your websites or your sign, your out west sign is talking to somebody who wants to rent a room from your hotel, right? So that's how I have learned to understand it.
That's good.
Yeah, that's so crazy that you said that, because in my mind I was thinking, okay,
I'm sorry, did you say crazy? I heard my nickname.
Yeah. But okay, so crazy. What I was wondering is, you talked about the Wild Wild West, and B says she's been helping you for 20 years. Like, how has
listening at least
listening? Okay, sorry, not helping, but yeah, listening. She's only been alive for 20 years. But like, how has marketing Windows changed over the time in business? Yeah, tell us the story.
Yeah, so easily 25 years ago, the prominent way to get leads would have been referral, right? Somebody is out maybe door knocking, right? They actually didn't have those signs out that said no solicitation, so people knocked on doors. And other than that, it probably would have been newspaper. And actually, one of my first bigger experiences with Windows was primarily newspaper driven. And then I worked with another one that was primarily radio driven. You migrated towards the Valpak type stuff. And they tell you, it's been years ago. I hate to say how many years ago I was in college. 50% of all marketing advertising dollars are wasted. The problem is we don't know which half. And now I think it's more like 70% are wasted, and we don't know where that 70% went. So I think trying to maximize those dollars better, because back then you might have gone to a home show, if I remember, if there was one, but they would do quirky things like go to an RV show and do a drawing, and they had a window there. 90% of those people aren't interested in windows. They wanted your $100 gift certificate or whatever. So it's very different, obviously a lot more manually involved, very expensive, right? So To transition though from those types of leads to expecting people to call you, because nobody goes to the barbershop and gets a lead anymore, or the beauty shop and gets a lead on, oh, who did you get your windows from?
Wait, I have one. When I had my massage practice, this is very personal, but when I went to a doctor's appointment, I walked out with a client. My doctor sent her daughter to me.
But it's rare, right? In the old days, people would just hang out at the barber at the beauty salon, and somebody would say, oh, I got new windows and I love them. Now, guess what? They're looking for a 5-star review somewhere, right? And I actually tell my customers that very thing is, I know you're probably happy enough now, you might tell 1 or 2 family members or a neighbor, but guess what? Nobody listens that way anymore. And so you need to actually put a review out there so somebody who's just looking for somebody just like me.
And actually, my face lit up because we actually now look to strangers for confirmation. And I hadn't thought about that.
Isn't that weird?
It's bizarre, and yet it makes sense. And we'll get into the social proof in a hot second. But one thing I wanted to clarify is you said Valpak. That's the mailer things that come to you where it's like all the coupons, and most of us toss them out or keep 1 or 2. But yeah, Crystal had a couple of good connections that she was making with what you said. So I know, make your comments, because I know you had some good ones, Crystal.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, the marketing spend, you were saying that 50% you can't tell where it went, or you could, or whatever. And then it's 70%. And like, how do you justify marketing when you can't classify where the actual return is?
Okay, that's really good. Do you know where the idea of a coupon for buy 2 orange juices and get 1 free? Do you know where that idea came from?
No.
An effort to track the effectiveness of the ad. So if I have a paper coupon that's redeemed at the store, I know that ad hit the customer that I was looking for. And that's how I completed. Yeah. So that's how they completed that circle, right? So these days it's different. A lot of things that are done online are lost because it's very difficult to track in a similar manner. So you have companies that are popping up that are trying to do, and I'm not going to call any names out, but they'll attach a phone number that channels so they know which place it came from, or there's others, little indicators. But that's the point. Reference this when you call back in and we'll give you such and such off. All those are efforts to prove out that what I've learned about marketing dollars is just kiss them goodbye and you hope they come home and do some work.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be your answer.
Because it costs money and there ain't no guarantees.
No, there's not.
We just want to improve our odds is what we want to do.
The School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Are you looking to start your own podcast but don't know where to begin? Look no further than theschoolofpodcasting.com. Our comprehensive online courses and one-on-one coaching will teach you everything you need to know, from equipment and editing to marketing and monetization. At theschoolofpodcasting.com, you'll be creating high-quality, engaging content in no time. Say goodbye to frustration and uncertainty, and hello to the community at theschoolofpodcasting.com.
And just for anyone listening, there are some similarities online compared to what you were just sharing. I did not know that about coupons. That's really fascinating. Yeah. The closest thing that my brain came up with just really quickly was there are different links. You can make certain links. I don't do ads very much. Crystal does. That this person saw your Facebook ad, got on your email list, did and that's how they became a sale.
Oh, that's ideal, right?
That is ideal, but it's harder to track that now because of some of the settings and preferences, and people are allowed to opt out of things like that now. So it's a little bit harder.
It's an imperfect world. So here's what I've come down to, and I'm much more basic than a lot of these folks that work at a higher level like you. So here's what I look at. Do I have a name and phone number? Can I go see the person? And if they agree to have me come see them, did I make the sale? Hey, all I want to know is, did I make enough sales to cover my marketing costs? And if I did, I'm going to keep doing it. And if I didn't, I have to move to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is fascinating. Yeah. Okay. So this is a good place to transition into local SEO, because I have some experience with that with the massage practice. You have experience with that with the window company. And then Crystal even has some experience as well. So local SEO is really helping you get found on a local level. You're not pitching yourself, for example, with me with copywriting. I can help anyone, really anywhere. as long as they speak English. I can't do anything that's in a different language. But with the massage practice, I had to keep it very narrow. I was in like the Raleigh, Durham, Apex, Cary area, and I had to really like stick to that area. So for you with local SEO and thinking of local SEO, what's maybe some of the stuff, like I know you and I have had this conversation. I know you've had this conversation with other people in your world, other marketing agencies and things. So what are some of the tidbits about SEO on a local level that you've picked up?
I think the fact that it's on the local level changes everything, right? So that's me hanging my sign back out like in the Old West. Now, when I'm tickling the web to get what I want, I'm setting a geo boundary, right? So if I can set a geo boundary, there's advantages to my business, because if I have a very good installer and that installer spends twice as long driving to a job 2 hours away, I can only bill for the work that they do when they get there. I don't get to bill for the drive time. And that's also a missed opportunity to use their time and their skills on other jobs. So I want to operate with, and I do operate within about an hour's drive of my home base here. So to me, it's very important. It's very important to identify that and then to build and work off of that. So very important to have the local aspect.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, when you guys created the website, did you create specific pages to attract those people or those cities? How did that work?
No is the answer. That's the simple answer. And then I have a belief you can make your website way too busy, right? I think it's good to appeal to your broader message to your target customer, right? But I don't think I want to slip down and get overly specific and make my website more than busy and lose people because it just looks like it's hard to navigate, for example. I'm learning, I think, to simplify, which is harder. It sounds easy, but it's not. So if you want to be laser focused, leave a few ambiguities there for them to have to search out maybe about you. So don't try to explain everything. So simpler is better, is what I think I've learned to make it.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about, we've tossed around the idea of having a blog where we could go into detail on the products, some of the specifications, even talking about like neighborhoods and things like that. We did weave the location into the copy. We did weave that into, I think, maybe one or two of the URLs, like the links that you click. But I wonder, I haven't asked you this directly, but I wonder if your concern is with making a lot of content, with having a robust site with a lot of blog posts. Do you feel like, or do you worry that it would confuse your ideal customer, or do you worry that it would send them on too many tangents kind of thing?
When I say too busy, I've seen window websites that are 20 pages long.
And just like the main website pages, you're saying, not a blog.
No, I didn't study their 20 pages and neither did anybody else. That's my point. I think you can bury the message in the obvious and not have to make them go third page deep, 2 paragraphs in to find the answer, right? So I think the challenging part is to bury it in the obvious, to make a statement instead of sending them to go find it, so to speak. I don't think they're going to spend that much time there, especially when they maybe just don't know that much about you. You were talking about we look to the stranger to give us confirmation, right? And by the way, everybody that's bought a dress at a dress shop, that's a stranger that just told you you look hot in that dress, right? Yeah. So it's not a new concept. And the truth is everybody wants confirmation. So when you're done with the transaction, you should always be the first one to tell them you made a wise decision, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a good business practice, right? And then it extends out to the review thing that we were talking about. So when they're reading, they want to know, did somebody like me buy? And I have an example. It's taken me 2 weeks to get this lady's 5-star review. I went to her mother's house. It's on the edge of our territory. And I told her when I got there, and I tell a lot of people this, I'm sorry, ma'am, I may not be the right guy to do the job for you, but I'm here to give you some information and we'll sort that out. And they're wondering, like, why don't you want to do my job? So I've already done a takeaway, so they want to get you back, right? The mom said to me, my daughter and I are going to be buying these windows together. And I said, that's fine. And she said, I don't want the cheapest thing you have. And I looked at her windows and she goes, yeah, those are the cheapest. I already got them. So she bought windows 20 years ago and she wasn't happy for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And they were vinyl replacement windows. My point is about the 5-star review is I later met with the daughter. I told them what the experience was going to They had already seen that on the website, read the messages. They felt good, although I'm still relatively new. I told them what the experience was going to be, and doggone if that isn't exactly the experience they had. But one of the things I said in the email is, I said, when you get a chance, please provide the review that we discussed. I said, another mother and daughter combination are out there looking for it.
That's good.
Exactly.
Yay.
You have to almost coach them up. And I tell folks, if I did something wrong, please put it in the review, but also say that I didn't have to chase him down. He came back and did what he said he was going to do. He did it in a timely manner, and now I'm happy. Hey, we're not perfect. We're just able to get the job done in a complete manner and not leave you hanging. So I have to almost coach him, put something bad in there, right? And I'm not saying bad. Put something disappointing in there, but then redeem me and say that I came back it right, because then that's going to look real world to people, right?
Yeah.
Don't just say, oh, I had a great experience.
And you did something as you were talking about continuing to follow up with her, but as you were continuing to follow up with her, you did something that I tell my clients to do. Be specific. Give them specifics.
Yes.
Did I show up on time? Did you get the experience you expected to have? How did you feel when I was there? The more specific you can be, the more specific the actual words are going to be that they give you. And that backs up your SEO and supports your SEO, because there are keywords hidden in testimonials that we don't always realize.
There's a powerful psychological dynamic at work with what you're saying. I'm not a psychologist, but I read Psychology Today magazine for 10 years because I liked it. And what it said is, strangers in a strange city being attacked in a group of people, if you call out for help, nobody responds. But if you point to somebody and say, Mister in the blue coat, would you help me? Yes. So it's a powerful psychological dynamic that you're actually using to tap into something that looks like me. I can relate to that. That sounds like me, and that sounds like my mom. I can relate to that. That's all I'm saying.
That's a really good point. And that actually ties into something seemingly random, but it actually applies here. Something came out where this mom had lost her daughter at the playground. She was watching her, had eyes on her, but the kid went around to behind one certain pole and mom couldn't see her anymore. So she remembered she had seen this video or heard on TikTok or something. Instead of just calling out like, hey, Brittany, where's Brittany? Brittany, where are you? It was little girl, brown curly hair in the pink shirt, little girl. And she just kept saying it. And then it got other people to look and to help her find the daughter. So being specific has multiple applications.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? You can say it feels a little uncomfortable to do that. But honestly, when I'm in my interview, here's what I tell people. I tell them, look, people are satisfied when they are told what they're going to receive. They receive what they were told they were going to receive, and they're not getting something unexpected or something they expected that was not communicated, wouldn't be in it. So if I give you all those things, then here's what I tell you. B, I feel like I've earned the right to ask you for a 5-star review, because that's a complete experience. We described it, you got it, you're happy with it. Now, you've got the right to say no, but I'm going to keep asking. So I don't think that's uncomfortable, right? I don't think that's wrong. No. I think we feel awkward. But listen, if you've got 1,000 people at the mall, you could go ask for a review. They would be worthless even if you got 3. But if I've got 5 customers, shouldn't I chase those 5 customers to get 3 reviews? Those 3 reviews are going to mean something to somebody.
The one other thing I wanted to connect the dots on is that essentially the art of follow-up. And it's something that's taken me a while to get comfortable with, but really in the last, I would say, year or 2, I've gotten really comfortable with it. And I've even had this is for you listening, I've even had clients say, thank you for following up. Yeah. I got busy. I had life happen. I've been sick. My kid had this. Like, how many times, if you think of yourself, I got my hair cut recently. I had that link to write a review sitting in I think it was in my text message folder for 3 weeks. And I had every intention every single day. It was on my to-do list and I kept forgetting. There's one day I was like, I need to do this. I sent it to myself. I did it that day. It took 5 minutes, but I had to keep reminding myself to do it. So following up is usually not a bad thing.
One more thought is, because of your depth and breadth of your customer base, right? Everybody doesn't fit in a neat little niche that says they're a 30-something that are familiar with electronics. So here's my other point. Make it easy, right? Yep. So one of the things that we did is, on the website, it says start your review here. And when you click it, it literally takes you to the Google page.
Yes.
So they start typing. Because too many people have said, I don't know, where do I leave that? How do I get there? I don't want to educate them, and I don't want to make them feel bad. So I would just say make it as easy as possible. So I've seen them use those, or the URLs, but whatever you need to do to make it easy, because it's not that we don't want to give the review, it's that it's complicated. It's a little bit harder. I don't have time to sit down and think about it. And then the other thing is give them a couple of examples of things that happen, like I did with Taiwan.
Yeah, exactly.
And that it makes it easier then too, because they're saying, oh, I know what he wants to hear. I know what was unique about my experience. Anyway.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Yeah, there's the testimonial template that I have that is, I know we're like mind blown over here. The testimonial template that I have is actually, it's like a Mad Libs experience. It's fill in the blank, it's complete the sentence. So I'm getting you started, and then I just want you to fill it in, which is just a different way of doing what you're saying. And the other thing that I like to point out to people is that it doesn't just have to be a Google review. You could email me back your thoughts, email me the fill in the blank parts, send a message to me, do a voice memo. Some people are really comfortable in video. You could do a video testimonial. So there's lots of different options. And as you're working with people like you do and I do and Crystal does, you get a sense of what they like to do and where they're comfortable and where they might shine the brightest. So yeah, just think about that.
Is Crystal trying to get in to say something?
She probably is.
Let her get in, and then I want to add one more thing to that. But
I'm learning. And I think this is so valuable because so many business owners who just chart their own path as entrepreneurs, they don't have a sales background. And without the sales background, it's really hard to create an offer and then follow up and then also have the definition of done and done well.
Right. That's important. Yeah, you have to define it. They have to agree to it. But once they agree to it, it's in their head that they agreed to that. And I'll give you another example because this was a creative one. Right up the street from me, Brittany, Janice, we messed her windows up. And we didn't get the measurement just right. And it was a complicated window. So it took 4 more weeks. And she called a couple times. And so her windows just went in this week. So everything went in. And so I was up there and I said, Janice, she'd written me a check. She'd handed it to me. And I said, Janice, I'm not sure exactly how many stars you would give me it on a review. But if you would be so kind as to do a review, so you can even take a negative. And you know what she said to me before I left? She said, oh, David, things happen. That's no problem. Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of grace. But as an owner, we might think there's no grace there and they're not going to give me a review. You know what? I'm asking everybody.
Yeah. Because you never know.
In the past, it's been, look, if I make a mistake, let me own up to it. And people move on. People are generally forgiving.
Yeah.
Lori Ann, when she was on talking about public speaking, she said that when you go in and you speak to a big group of people, they're for you. They want you to be successful.
They are.
Yeah. If you're putting in my windows, I want you to be successful because this is my house. I'm going to be here for a while. With social media and just like the culture, I don't think it's that business owners don't want to be honest and truthful sometimes. I just think they've forgotten that truth about people want to just understand and then they'll forgive you. People are so afraid of making a mistake and having someone else call them out publicly for it that they then want to bury it. So I just think that's something we really need to pull out here and just say, hey, look, you're not going to get all 5-star reviews.
And you don't want it to be, because then it looks fake. It actually does look fake. And I've had people talk about that. Sorry.
I'm the only window provider in this area that goes in and gives 5 guarantees. And one of my guarantees is 100% satisfaction guarantee. But I'm going to tell you right here, when I pull that out, it's in print. When I pull it out and start to read it, I tell them, guess what this doesn't say? You hear me saying 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. But what Crystal just said is the truth. She's pulling for that provider to do a good job. And so here's what I say. I read it. It's a little paragraph and it says, if after you make payment, after the job's complete, if something mechanically, structurally, appearance-wise is wrong, then what I'm going to do is make every effort possible to make that right. If I can't, then I'm going to go get the manufacturer's rep and have a third party come in. And if they make a comment that the window wasn't put in right, I'm going to take the window out and put it in the way they say. If we need to get a building engineer to tell me that the structural member across the top of the window is not sound. And that wasn't my fault. I'm going to bring that engineer in so you have the information. So what am I saying? I'm not going away. You want your windows done. My 100% satisfaction guarantee is I'm going to see it through to the end. And that plays to what you're saying, Crystal.
I know this is good.
Yeah. I did want to go back to something you said about doing giveaways. Just recently, I was in a big collaboration with some other online business owners that sell to a similar demographic. They sell to moms or whatever, but I tend to sell to moms of older kids. Whereas a lot of contributors in this group, they were selling to moms of younger kids. But I just think that collaboration needs to be strategic, I guess is the point. Like what you were talking about, like you don't want to just say, hey, I'm going to have this giveaway and get a bunch of email addresses or whatever if they're not interested in your product. But I'm excited about this list that I've got because I do have specific products for mothers of young children. And so now I can take that segment and actually market directly to them with the things that they would want to buy from me, like wooden letters for their walls and stuff like that.
So one of the ways they turned a non-interested party into an interested party is they said, if we send our salesperson out and you sit through the presentation, we'll give you a $50 gift card when it's over. So they believed that they could turn somebody not interested into Windows if we sat there and talked to them long enough, and they would sit there and pay attention, at least feign attention, so they could get the $50 gift card. But let me tell you how I took that and turned it around. I didn't believe that was a wise use of money, but take the concept and say, is there something in it for me? I found something in it for me. So I had a customer or two that hadn't gotten back to me. And I felt like they were interested, but they weren't like ready to do something right now. So what I do is send them an email. And I'd say, listen, I know you're a busy person and probably still looking at your options on the Windows, but hey, I wanted to let you know we have a promotion going on. And that promotion is good for the next 30 days. And it will allow me to give you a $200 gift card or $100, whatever you want to make it, $100. And I said gas card because at the time gas prices were high, right? And so this lady calls me back and I got a really nice sale off of it, right? And so when I went to her house, instead of doing a $100 gift card, this lady now, she's a health nut, a coach, a life coach, real estate, you know what I'm saying? Full of energy, meets me at the door. She's got two or three grown 12 to 15-year-old kids. And we're having this conversation. She did the electronic signing of the contract. And I took a $100 bill and I put it in her hands. And I said, now you go get something that's good for you. You get your nails done. You get a pedicure. You know what I'm saying? She didn't care about that gas no more. That money was hers. So I'm just saying you can find ways to take small little things and turn it a little bit and make it powerful for you. I wish I had more people to call because I could use that again, right? But I have a 75% closing rate, so I don't leave a lot of stuff behind. Right? Industry average is 30%. I ran 56% for 10 years, and now I'm running about 75% now that I own the company.
Yeah, I think we're going to have you back to talk about sales.
It's just psychology. You guys talked about that I love, and you do it here, and it's a phrase that I feel like I've coined, right? But I haven't written about it. It's conversational selling because I learn more. Exactly. I learn more.
I told you how to listen to people.
I learned more. I had a guy in my office the other day and I needed something specific from him. He's a manufacturer's director of sales. And so I did what you talked about. I asked for something very specific. Instead of saying, hey, I'd like a 5% discount or give me a discount on my product, I said, no, I want to buy this specific glass for this reason, for that price. And he sent me back a thing and said, you've got it for 90 days. Now, I got it because I asked for it and asked specifically for it. Let me back up. I asked him a question because he's new to the company. How do you see your product lineup and where specifically do you see this product? And he said, that's a really good question. I'm going to turn the tables on you and I'm going to ask you that question. And he said, then I'm going to give you my answer, which I will not change after you give. And I said, oh, I'm happy to make a statement. I said, I love making statements, but I just find I learn more when I ask questions. And
that's really good lines.
He was doing the same thing to me. That was a pro right there.
Yeah.
So a pro loves working with a pro, right?
Yeah.
And I was calling him out. I was like, okay, I get it, but I know why you're doing it. It's the same reason I do it. You're going to learn more from my answer than making your statement.
Yeah. I'm also going to say something that's probably a little bit controversial, but it's just what I've seen in my life and experience. Had I not grown up hearing a lot of the stuff that you talk about, I'm a woman. We don't ask those things. We don't do those things. We don't have the same behaviors as guys. So I might not ask about something like that. You said earlier, I can't remember even if we were recording or not, but you said Crystal and I are too nice to each other sometimes. Yeah, we are. But it's in our nature. It's how we are. And at the same time, we're growing and learning and figuring out what boundaries are and what the help that I think we each need. And like, we're figuring that out, but not every person gets exposed to stuff like that. Even just thinking to ask about that, whether it's a raise or a special offer, or even if just a collaboration. Like I've been in a collaboration group this month, and it's like, even that people don't always think to do.
I feel like I have so much more clarity in my own approach and how I want to set up my offers, because I've always known that you've got to be confident in your process before you can actually sell the process. But the way that you shared today really drove it home for me. It really made it clear. I hope for our friends that are listening that they have the same kind of epiphanies. And yeah, I would love to talk to you again in the future. This is fantastic.
Sure. I love talking about sales. And
yes, he does.
In marketing and sales, I've been doing it a long time. And yeah, I find you have to first like people, right? And so I start with that. Second, I want to help people, right? And sometimes we think we're helping by saying something, but usually we need to learn something first before we say something to help them. And then you can only help the willing, right? So you have to have somebody who's open-minded enough to want to turn this thing around and then try something a little bit different, and then maybe experience that, and then they can grow from there, right? One more thing I'll say, I used to manage people, and I was a very highly effective manager of other people, just based on their results, not on my opinion. I would always have them write their own review before I wrote their review. And what people tend to do is they're harsher on themselves than I'm going to be. So I would have them write the review, and then I would, not like detail, just all the notes. And they would come and have a meeting with me. They'd put it on the desk, and I'd start to read it. And I'd say, I learned something a long time ago in life. Never build a file against yourself. This stuff right here, I don't need to know that. This stuff right here, that doesn't apply. You have an opportunity here to build on this point. Marketing is a psychological process. Manipulation is considered a negative concept. But if you look at the Webster's, manipulation is the masterful workings of blah, blah, blah. So there's positive manipulation and there's negative manipulation. So maybe we should start with the fact that we want to get people to a good point. That's a positive outcome. That's a positive manipulation. So I am a manipulator of people on a positive note that's for their benefit and for my, there can be a mutually benefit. It's not mutually exclusive. It can be good for each party.
That speaks to one thing that I talk about a lot, which is intention. It's one of the values that I have in my business. And it's something that I feel like, especially recently, so many people have seemed to have like just it floated out of their head and they've so lost touch with it. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that. And I think that Crystal and I both had that moment, jaw-dropping moment when you said not to build a file against yourself. Because I think a lot of us do, and we do that. That's like the top performing job that we all have.
Yes.
And some salespeople do that in the sale. Look, they aren't going to have any problem finding the negatives. So what you need to do is stay on point with your positives. And when something like that comes up, you have a ready answer for it. Again, nobody's perfect. Yes, that happened. I'll give you the background. I'll fill it out a little bit better for you. Not saying it couldn't happen again, but it's highly unlikely. I don't make the same mistake twice. But don't sit there and dwell on it. I'll give you one example. There's a company that's franchised that's up in Chicago. They took money from people for windows. They never delivered, and that reflected very badly. And it's recently it happened. And so another franchise of the same name in another area said, maybe I should run an ad that says I'm with that franchise, but I don't do business like that. And my attitude is, no, you don't need to start with a negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. At first I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Like, that's really a bad idea.
Upside. No, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, let me just go attach myself to this one that really did a number on people.
A lot of things we do are marketing driven. They are sales driven. When I had people, I would interview, and I did interviews a lot different. But one of the things I would always say is, and I'll say this, do you think of yourself as a salesperson? And most people go, no, but I understand. But
me 10 years ago would have said no.
All right. So let's take that 10 years ago, because here's what I would say back to that person. Oh, let me paint a scenario and see how you answer it. So let's say you're 16 years old, you have your driver's license, and there's one car in the family and you need it Friday night. Are you a good salesperson?
Yep.
Yeah. So it gets down to intention or motivation right. So if I attach myself to that feeling, then it's easier for me to do things that aren't as comfortable for me. Does that make sense?
I'm coming up with show ideas over here.
Yep. I have 5 things to add to our topics list.
If I can get invited back, I don't know if y'all would give me 5 stars for my performance. But,
we'll have to ask the listeners.
That's a good time to ask for, if you haven't reviewed the show and you're listening right now, please go there and leave a 5-star review. You
have a loyal base of people who pay attention, right? Mm-hmm. But they're busy. So I think what you do is you say, if you don't mind, could you do it today? If you don't mind, could you do it today? Take 5 minutes. I know the day's going to be busy. You're going to fix dinner, whatnot. When dinner's over and the kids are off playing and the dishes are put up in the dishwasher, could you take 5 minutes and log back on and give us a 5-star review? We would really appreciate it. It helps build our credibility for other people just like you that are looking for the same type of information.
Crazy over here. He just said, we're going to count on you to do that. Is that what you said?
That is correct.
The call to action at the end there? Because now we're in it together.
Correct.
We are.
That's the psychology that just built the relationship. Because I speak to a lot of people who listen to us, and I know you do too, B. So we are in this thing together. And we're all in it to build our businesses and learn from each other and help each other. You know, we're counting on you to, if this is helpful to you, to help spread the word. Correct. But at the end of the day, we're just so glad you're here. That's me backing it up and then going, you don't have to do it. No, please do it.
You just need to, I'll give you a clue. Some things you just need to leave laying there because the next person that speaks is losing. In that situation, you don't need any further clarification of the point. You made your point, let it lay. And it will get a better result. Fair enough?
That's good.
That is very good. On a long list of problems, that's probably a number one.
We're not leading with that though, remember?
I'm just being honest. I mean,
I know.
I'm very self-aware. So it's like, this was a great coaching moment. And so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Did you do any coaching? I know you managed people, but outside of that.
The answer is not officially. I'm a student of psychology. I'm a student of human nature. Every opportunity where you're interacting with a customer, you feel like you're working to convince, but you ought to be looking for something that's in there that you can use with another customer. I can't tell you how many times a customer has said a great line, and then I turn right around to the next one and I say, you won't believe this, but the last person I spoke to on this very same issue, here's what they said. It's a beautiful thing to do, right? So you have to be aware enough in the situation to be not only a participant, but then a bit of an outside viewer, and then write those things down. And people love to hear those examples because it pulls them in even more.
Yeah. Every time you and I talk about business, it's really great because I realize that we do a lot of the same things and yet we haven't really talked about it. So It's just like in my DNA, because this totally was, but I did a lot of that with massage therapy to the point where I would keep a notepad. I started getting one of those like big 4x6 notepad every single time. And I would tell my clients if I ever walked away from them on the table, like they're undressed on the table, they say something great. I'm like, hold on, I got to write this down. That was too good. And I did it and they were flattered by it. But then they also were happy that they were able to help someone and they thought it was cool that they could help someone else. So I love that.
And most of us, and I'm just going to say, not about Crystal, because I'm sure she's the exception, but most of us, it just goes right over our head. It's the opportunity sails by. And then there goes 4 or 5 opportunities to help somebody else that's just like that. Right. Yeah. And so if you want those 4 or 5, you focus on them and not on you. And when you're not focused on you, other people see that the focus is on them and on their situation and on their growing as a person. And then they join to you in your situation a little bit easier.
And we've even had people say that they like hearing, Crystal and I don't know everything about SEO, nor do we claim to. In fact, we embrace the fact that we don't know everything about SEO. And
it's hard to know about smoke, isn't
it? That is nice to hear. That it's appreciated because I think that's really important at least to me. I don't want to speak for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was a teacher and that's part of teaching is learning. And the fact is a lot of the kids, they're bringing in new knowledge, what we call prior knowledge into the classroom. that may be new to me. So if you don't have an open mind about what you can learn from other people, or that some information may change or be new, then you're going to have a hard time, because the world is moving so fast. It's a good time to be humble.
Correct. You can take a weakness, and without too much work, you can turn a weakness into a strength. And in life, what we tend to do is we embrace our strengths and we build on our strengths. You have to round yourself out. If you don't round yourself out, you're going to appeal to a very narrow niche and maybe wear out. You know what I'm saying? So better to be humble, better to learn from others, better to try something new. And you might be shocked that it works, right? Try one thing and then build on that. Do that one thing for 30 to 60 days and then do one more thing. And you might find that by the end of 6 months or a year, you've moved quite a bit and maybe broadened yourself as a business owner, person, a spouse, whatever, right?
We appreciate you. This is great. If you want to have him come back and talk about sales, let us know. And don't forget, we're counting on you to leave the review.
There you go. Good. I'm happy to help anybody who's open-minded enough to listen. And I think there's some nuggets in there. It's not as complicated as we think, but it's also not as easy as we think, right? You have to intentionally apply the tools to get the result. If you just wing it, you're going to get a I just wing it result, right? So you want to be more intentional. Okay. Yeah, I'll come back and talk about sales, marketing, and psychology. How's that?
All right.
Amazing.
All right.
Thank you. All right. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go, so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time. Hey guys, this is Crystal, one of your co-hosts from the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. If you're looking for a unique, handcrafted way to spruce up your home or office, then collagenwood.com is the perfect place for you. We are a small, woman-owned business that offers a range of beautiful wooden signs for your home or office. Our talented team of artists will work with you to create a sign that perfectly suits your needs. So why wait? Use promo code SIMPLE10 to save 10%. Visit collagenwood.com today. Save 10% with promo code SIMPLE10. That's collagenwood.com.